Getting started, 9 a.m. bright and early Monday morning. Thank you for being here today. We are going to be discussing slow rolling. If it's acceptable, should you be doing it? How should you react when it happens to you? Etc., etc. We have this hand featuring Garrett Adelstein, one of my favorite poker players. I've played with him a few times in the past in Los Angeles. It's always very difficult. He's been putting people in difficult spots for many, many years, and it's no fun playing against him. Actually, it's actually a lot of fun playing against him, but in a massively battling, degenerate way, which is, I fully realize, not what a lot of people like. I don't know who his opponent is in this hand, and I have not actually watched this hand. I've only seen the end of this hand, and I thought that we should probably talk about this here today, because a lot of people seem to get really, really mad when they get slow rolled. Really, 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 really mad. Like angry, furious. How could you do this to me? Let's watch this poker hand. Let me know if the audio sounds okay.
So JR here is gonna start off with a limp, and Dylan here is also gonna limp. He's gonna over limp fours.
Notice we have call 700. I don't know what these positions are, but we are playing 100, 200, 400. Maybe with an 800 straddle on the button or something. So maybe small blind calls. Okay, definitely too loose. Where are we? I don't know what's happening pre-flop. Anyway, we're going to see a flop.
Where is it? 7?
Never mind.
And Garrett here with King 10 of spades is going to make it 7,000.
I figured this out. We have a straddle here, or a limp here, one of the two. Then we have a call on the button. Then we have a call in the small blind, a raise in the big blind. Here we have the third blind, okay? That's what's happening. This was probably a straddle if I had to guess, because it said 200, 400. Oh wait, it's 200, 100, 200, 400. Must be with a straddle to 800 in the cutoff, I guess. Who knows what's happening? Maybe there was a fourth blind. I guess we'll find that out soon. Great way to start the show. Maybe I should have watched this hand ahead of time.
First time we've seen anyone limp in besides Nick.
Okay, I guess it's a limp with 800 big blind somewhere.
And Ben here, 9-7 of clubs. He's going to get in there. He's going to call. And Tiger over there with
under the gun straddle. So it's 100, 200, 400, 800 under the gun straddle. So we have one small blind is the first blind. This is the second blind. This is the third blind. This is a straddle. Cut off open limps. This guy, Dylan the villain, limps behind on the button. Limp, raise, call. This call's way too loose, by the way. This call with the 8-7 suited, way too loose. I actually don't have much experience playing in 4-blind games. I presume we're probably just still supposed to raise a lot, but I'd probably raise this. This would call, etc., etc. Raise, call, fold, call or 3-bet, fold, etc., etc.
Ace-Jack off. I mean, he could throw a 4-bet in here, too.
I like
Everybody
a 4-bet.
seems weak. The only person that's raised here is Garrett. A lot of dead money out there.
I like a 4-bet a lot here, actually.
10 seconds.
He's in the straddle.
This type of hand, like ace-jack offsuit's a particularly good hand to 4-bet because you can easily 4-bet it and then fold it to a shove. Whereas if you call, yeah, we're in position against these players, but these players are likely going to continue some portion of the time because, I mean, they're limping, not looking to limp fold, presumably. And, you know, ace-jack is a good, solid blocker hand that doesn't mind playing heads up in position against big blind or third blind. So I like 4-betting. I'd probably make it 28K out of 120. I think that's pretty solid.
And he calls.
Just call,
so
though.
all of a sudden, we're going to see a massive, massive multi-way pot, obviously, as Dylan comes in as well.
Good fold by the king jack. Once you limp it and you're a multi-way, hands like king jack offsuit go way down in value. If you had something like ace jack offsuit, you should probably fold, really. 4 should call, though, to try to make a set. 8-7's obviously should fold.
And Nick's going to call too.
They're splashing.
So 5 ways. 36,000 in the pot.
I know there were 2 more callers. Make this first. Check. Oh.
Whole lot of nothing here. Dylan looks to have the best hand still with pocket 4s.
What would I do in this spot? I'm trying to think if I would attempt to bluff here in Garrett's shoes. If there was a spade on the board, I don't hate throwing out a small bet, but with no spade, I think it's probably fine to check. This guy has stone airball, he should check. This guy's airball, he should check. Once it gets around to Dylan, maybe Dylan's supposed to make a small bet for value / protection, because you got to presume Garrett's going to bet a lot of his best hands. These guys could have medium pairs, but they would often bet those, or if they had a queen, they'd probably bet those some portion of the time. So I think with the lowest pocket pairs here, I like betting small in this spot, because if you just win the pot, that's fantastic. If you get raised, you can just fold. And notice here, everybody has loads of equity. And by making all these players fold out their loads of equity, that equity all goes to you and whoever else sticks around. So I think I'd like a small bet from Dylan here.
Check.
He checks.
All right, everyone checks.
By the way, if Dylan had a hand like jacks, I think I'd prefer, or not, yeah, if he had a hand like jacks on queen 3-3, I think I'd prefer checking it, because that's way less vulnerable to being outdrawn. But with 4s, you're like really vulnerable. So I don't mind a small bet of like 8,000. You'd also bet 8,000 here if you had a 3 with a queen, with flush draws, etc. So you're still betting pretty polarized, but with a few hands like these 4s. And some bluffs, of course.
And the turn is a 4.
Oh, hello.
Dylan here
Check.
with 4s full.
Check.
He's got the check mark. Just unfortunate for him, no one really has anything.
Check.
I mean, I gotta presume Dylan should bet here, because he really wants to get action from a hand like 8s or jacks or queen 9 suited, right? These are all hands that the opponent certainly could have at this point. Flush draws are not going to fold. And again, if you bet small here, you could easily get action from something like ace king or ace jack for all we know. That said, I don't hate checking, because every once in a while all hell breaks loose on the river. Every once in a while though, you will be against a hand like pocket 8s, and then 8 will randomly come on the river, then you get stacked. So I think I'd go for a small bet here. Thanks to everyone for being here, by the way. Click the like, click the subscribe button.
Check it back.
I appreciate it.
Does not put any money in here.
Check. All right.
And the river's a king, so Garrett rivers a king is sneaky little check by Dylan.
Tough spot for Garrett with the king. It's obviously the best hand a lot of the time. The question is, how likely are the opponents supposed to bet? From out of position, with 3 people yet to act, I don't mind checking the bad kings here. And most of Garrett's kings will be bad kings, I gotta presume. Well, I'm sorry. Some of his kings will be bad. Most of them won't be terrible, though. So the question is, like, how bad are his bad kings? Is he raising over the limps with, like, king 8 suited pre-flop? And if he is, then I think that's probably fine with a check. But this may be one of the weakest hands he's raising in this spot with, against the limpers. So if this is one of his weaker kings, he probably wants to check it. But value betting's fine, too. And Garrett certainly does get after it and blast, which will let him value bet thinner. As you bluff more often, you get to inevitably value bet thinner. So we'll see what happens.
It get him some extra money.
Checking's nice because if you check, you can induce bluffs, right? Whereas if you value bet here, will a queen even call? If it's not, then not really a whole lot of point in value betting. And sometimes you get raised, which is really bad. Pot's 36. Let's see what he does.
And 20,000 here.
Spicy. Big bet.
From Garrett.
Well, 2/3 pot or whatever. But pretty big bet.
And what's interesting is Dylan never has pocket queens here, so when Dylan does raise, it's going to look a little bit peculiar, like he could just have flopped, say, 4 3s, pocket 4s, and checked it. So this is a great, great result for Dylan, the way this one has played out.
Everyone's saying the queen kicker plays. I realize the queen kicker plays here, but you have to, if you're going to check some kings, you need to differentiate them in some way, right? It doesn't make that big of a difference in my mind here. I fully realize the queen plays. I can read the board, everyone. But if you want to bet ace king, and you want to bet king queen, and you want to bet some additional kings, probably doesn't matter all that much. I'm sure there's some blocker concerns I'm considering right now because I haven't thought about it too much. But you got to figure out which kings to check and which kings to not check, right? So if you're going to not bet all of them, but you know you're betting ace, king, and king, queen, and king 4 and king 3, then how do we split it up, right? And I'm sure it's not just stone randomly, right? So an easy way to at least kind of balance it logically is just check your weakest ones, even though they all have the same value at this exact point. Obviously, Dylan's going to put in a raise. The question is, how much do you raise? Right now, pot's 56K. We want to probably raise smallish to induce a bluff. Or if you've been especially battly, you may want to rip it in to try to get a hero call from a king. It's a tough thing here because notice Dylan has 132K facing a 20K bet. So if he raises to like 50 or 43, is that ever going to get Garrett to jam it all in as a bluff? And like maybe, like if there's a person who could do it, it's probably Garrett, but probably not. So if that's the case, the question is, will he call a jam with a hand like ace, king, or king, queen? Obviously, I don't think he has a whole lot of king, queens, but he could, right? So will he call a jam with those? And I don't know. Depends on how badly they are, right? It goes back to if you get in there and you jam a lot with bluffs, then I like the jam a lot more than if you don't ever.
$75,000.
And here comes the raise.
Weird, almost all-in raise. 75 out of 132. I don't know about this. This is one. I mean, this. Look, again. I get the idea that maybe this is a better play as a bluff / value raise with a random 3 or pocket 4s because you could be against a hand like kings or queens, right? I guess you lose less. I don't know about this. This is something I do see some cash game players making where they'll raise like 75 out of 132, but I'm not sure this is. Well, I'm not sure it's GTO, but it definitely could be right depending on how the opponents play.
75,000. So 131,000, 55,000 for Garrett to call.
Huge thanks, by the way, to Hustler Casino Live for letting us use this footage.
10 seconds.
Oh god, so frustrating.
We do not steal footage like some people do on YouTube. We have permission. And right here, like, do you call? I don't know. Depends on how badly the opponent is. Simple as that. I don't know anything about Dylan. He looks badly, though.
Again, Dylan's never going to have pocket queens here. He over-limped. Go back to pre-flop. He over-limped JR's limp, which started this hand. So what is he representing? Maybe 3s, maybe pocket 4s.
I like Bart Hansen's commentary here because he's really only saying I got like the super nuts, right? Would he value raise like king, jack? Obviously not. I mean, it seems obviously not to me. So he's saying either I have trips are better or nothing. And given he limp pre-flop, probably has almost no 3s, so you can kind of negate those. He could have like ace 3 suited, but again, there's 2 combinations, right? King 3 suited is super blocked. 4-3 suited super blocked, right? So it's really, really hard to have a 3. He can have 3 combinations of 4s, 1 combination of 3s, right? So that's 4, 5, 6. 6 combinations of those. 6 nut combinations. There's 6 nut combinations, which is almost none. And so here the odds are, is he ever bluffing? We have to put in 50. What do we have to put in? We have to put in 55 to try to win 180. So is he bluffing, what? 28% of the time, something like that? Is that how that works? So does he have, what, 2 or 3 bluff combinations in his range? 2 or 3 bluff combinations. It's hard to not have 2 or 3 bluff combinations in your range, assuming you're like a good, strong battling opponent. Now, I will say, everyone in the chat saying, obviously fold, he raised the river. Yeah, that'd be the fine play in most small stakes games against straightforward players because they're literally never bluffing. They don't have any bluffs in their range. They have 0 0.0 bluffs in their range. But we are playing 100, 200, 400 Hustler Casino Live, where players get in there and they splash around and they battle hard. Right? And there you go, right? It's a different game than you may be accustomed to. So the question is does the guy have 2, 3, or 4 bluffs? That's what Garrett's considering here. And depending on their dynamic, I think the answer definitely could be yes. If I was playing against Garrett here, I'd call every time.
Would he ever overlimp a hand like Queen 3 suited?
Hey, I just said that, right? Probably not. Probably not.
And Garrett's gonna call.
Good call.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Ooh.
Good call, just kidding.
Wow. That is definitely in poor etiquette, I will say.
We're gonna have to rewatch this.
Oh, thank you.
That is a slow roll. And I think I'm an expert on analyzing slow rolls. Dylan the Villain up 129,100 and
All right, let's rewind.
again, Dylan's never going to have pocket queens here. He overlimped. Go back to pre-flop. He overlimped JR's limp, which started this hand. So what is he representing? Maybe 3s, maybe pocket 4s. Would he ever overlimp a hand like Queen 3 suited? And Garrett's gonna call.
Good call.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Ooh.
All right. Some of you are saying, oh my God, how could you do this? This is a terrible thing to do. You've offended me for life. Other people are saying, how would Jonathan react? Other people are saying, I would have lost my mind. So, the question is slow rolling acceptable? As Bart Hansen says, it's in very poor etiquette. Okay? It's in very poor etiquette. Obviously. Some of you were saying, before we showed this hand, that he should be banned for this. Should you be banned for doing something that's not against the rules? Well, obviously not. Obviously, you should not get banned if you do not do something that is against the rules. Now, I realize many casinos have terms and conditions that say they can ban you for whatever reason they feel like banning you for. But I definitely do not think you should be banned or even get a penalty for slow rolling someone. Now, I will say I've never slow rolled anyone in my life, and I do not generally recommend you do it. Some of you were saying earlier, what's the benefit of slow rolling? Why would you slow roll someone? What's the purpose? Well, the purpose is to get your opponent tilted, right? And I will say, given the reaction to many of you in this chat, you seem like you would have been tilted. So, it seems like Dylan the Villain's strategy would have worked amazingly well against you. Now, I will say that against someone like Garrett, I think it's actually going to make you look a little bit foolish. Why? Because we see how Garrett reacted, right? Garrett does not care. Garrett's just going to keep playing great. A long time ago, I remember playing in Biloxi, Mississippi. Phil Helmuth was at my table. I got it all in. I'm trying to remember how this went down. It was a long time ago, probably like 12 years ago. What was it? It was like right at the end of day 3 or something. I got it all in. I made some call on the river. I showed my hand, kind of like this, right? The opponent said, nice hand. I turned my hand over just like Garrett did. Then the guy turns over the nuts. And I got up and I left. And as I was leaving, I say nice hand, and I leave, right? As I leave me out here, Phil Hellmuth berating the shit out of the guy. Phil Hellmuth is berating this guy like mad, saying, you ever do that to me, I will come over there and knock your socks off or something like that. But anyway, look, what you're supposed to do when this happens? The answer is nothing. You're supposed to just react normally. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Why does it matter if someone makes you think for a second that you won, even though in reality it does not? Right? Why does it matter if you thought you were going to win the hand? It sounds like people who care about this care way too much about the money and the result, the immediate result. The way I'm viewing this hand, in Garrett's shoes, and he probably views it the same way, is on the river when you make this call, you're roughly winning or losing almost no money, because that's probably a close spot. I know some of you think it's just the obvious fold. Whatever. He made the call. He clearly thought it was at least okay, probably because Dylan gets in there and battles. Right? And if that's the case, it doesn't matter what you do. It's irrelevant. If the call is roughly neutral, then it doesn't matter what happens. Now, I will say that you should not, from a life EV perspective, do things that make your opponents not like you. You should not make your opponents not like you. Why? Why should you make your opponents like you in general? Because I realize that from a pure gamesmanship point of view, you actually kind of want your opponents hating you, because that'll make them screw up, right? It'll make them have clouded judgment against you. If they're bad, of course. Or not world class, perhaps. So why would you want them to like you when I think it's actually probably good if they actually do not like you? Take a second, think about it. Jimmy Buffett says, you were in the chat as a moderator during the hand. So many people were life tilted, even though it didn't happen to them. Yeah. You need people to like you in life because doors will open, inevitably. If people don't like you, they're not going to want to work with you at all. Now you may say, I don't care if people want to work with me, and maybe you don't. But most people who play poker also do some sort of business things on the side. I'll give you a good example. I, on the side, own a poker publishing company. We publish all these books back here. And I actually have good relationships with every single person who wrote those books back there. And we've had a few people come to us to write books who have been rude to me one way or the other on the internet. And I shut it down. Not out of vengeance, but because I don't want to be working with people who I think are going to be out there causing trouble nonsensically. And basically everyone who has a problem with me is just, they have no clue what they're talking about. And I don't want to work with people like that. Simple as that, right? So you have to realize that you want people to generally have a positive or at least neutral view of you. You do not want people to have a negative view of you, because if they have a negative view of you, doors will close. And you don't want doors closed, you want doors open. For example, what if Garrett starts running big home games in LA or wherever? Not that I'm saying he will, but what if Garrett starts running big home games? You think he's going to invite Dylan to play if he doesn't like him? No. But what if he loves Dylan? If he loves Dylan, then he's going to at least be open to it, right? So you never know how things are going to play out in the future, and ideally you want to do things that add value to the community and make people like you. Everyone's saying that Garrett won a big pot off of Dylan the next day. Yeah, of course. But I realized Garrett won a big pot. He got only 75% equity. He had 2 pair against a flush draw. He won the hand. Sure. But you can't look at that and say, yeah, he got even. Because it's just variance, right? He could have easily lost that one too. Right? You get it all in with 2 pair against a flush draw, you're going to lose sometimes. Then how would you all have felt in the chat saying, yeah, he got even? Would you think, oh man, no, poker's rigged, karma's terrible, it doesn't exist? You want to see the slow roll? All right, we'll show you the slow roll one more time. I know some of you here are late. If you're late, do me a favor, click the like and subscribe button as punishment for being late. Let's watch this one more time. We'll skip through the hand a little bit. We're going to go to the flop. We're going to go to the flop 5 ways. It went limp for 800, limp for 800, limp for 700 more from the small blind, raise to 7,000 with king 10 of spades. I think that's fine. This Ben player calls. That's probably too loose. King jack folds correctly. Pocket 4s calls. 8-7.
7 of
calls as well. Is that
with
right?
ace jack.
Shouldn't have done that.
Why'd you...
All right, queen, queen, 3. Check, check, check.
Check it back.
4.
Does not
Check, 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 check. Over to the pocket 4s. Who slow plays it? Checks it back.
put any look a little bit peculiar, like he could just have flopped, say, 4 3s.
River is a king. Garrett bets 20K, gets around to Dylan. He puts in a raise
Pocket
to 70-something K.
55,000 for Garrett to call.
And here we are.
10 seconds.
Oh god, so frustrating. Fuck. Oh, I'm so frustrated.
You all like to see the pain, huh? Seeing the pain is kind of fun.
Again, Dylan's never going to have pocket queens here. He over-limped. Go back to pre-flop. He over-limped JR's limp, which started this hand. So what is he representing? Maybe 3s, maybe pocket 4s. Would he ever over-limp a hand like queen 3 suited?
He called you.
And Garrett's going to call.
Good call.
Oh.
Just kidding. Oh.
Ooh. Wow.
All right, so we're going to discuss something here. Taminator makes a good,
Would he
question.
ever over-limp?
Ask a good question. If you go all in, I'm sorry, if someone goes all in and you call with the nuts, is it bad etiquette to make them turn over their hand first? What do you all think? Type it in the chat. They go all in on the river. They go all in on the river. I call with the nuts. I don't call slowly. I call. You know, I call quickly. Should I make them show their hand? Or should I just turn over my nuts? Because watch what happens here.
A hand like queen 3 suited?
He called you.
And Garrett's going to call.
Good call.
Good call. Garrett turns his hand face up. Which is, you know, I'm not going to say anything pertaining to etiquette. Because the rules of the game clearly state, whenever you make a bet and someone calls you, you must turn your hand over first. Very clearly, that's what the rules say. And you can be very sure that in the future, Garrett is going to make Dylan turn over his hand first, no matter what. So, again, is it against the rules? Or is it like well within line, you know? Is it well within line to make your opponent show their hand first? And it is well within line. Now, the question is, should you make them show their hand if you have the nuts? And I think the answer is it depends. Against players who you generally like, players who you don't want to make feel bad, against particularly bad players who you want to make sure leave the game happy enough, even though they just lost their money, maybe you do turn it over first. And I would say, in that spot, I probably turn it over first half the time, maybe more, right? I used to never turn it over first. But then I realized sometimes that's the one, or sometimes that makes people angry, right? And you don't want that. Like I said, you want people to like you. What if you're the one, what if they are the one that called you? If I bet the river and they call me, I always turn my hand over. Immediately. Why would I turn my hand over immediately, win or lose? If I have the nuts, don't want to slow roll them. If I have a bluff, they may misread my hand if I turn it over confidently. And by the way, that's A-okay too. If you turn over your hand and it's the nut low and your opponent can't read the board and they muck their hand, that's your pot. There's nothing out of line about that. I have seen that happen many times, once for me. Once, very deep in a $5,000 buy-in no-limit tournament, Matt Stout had a hit spot where he turned over the nut low, busted straight flush draw on like a 4, or like a 5, the board was 5 red cards, and he had like 5-4 of hearts or something for busted straight flush draw, but it ran out like diamond instead of heart, or with a heart. He turned it over the nut low. His opponent looks at the board. He's like, oh man, I knew you had it. And then he mucks. So that's fun. So yeah, anyway, you got to realize that whenever you make a bet on the river and they call you, you should turn your hand over immediately and confidently. Don't be like, oh, you got me. Don't do that because you never know. You might get a free pot out of it. If someone bets the river and you call, it is on them to turn over their hand first. If they don't want to turn it over, just sit there. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with just sitting there, even if you have the nuts. And in some casinos on the river, if they bet, you call and they muck, you don't have to show your hand. And that saves you information, right? But what Garrett did here, where he turned his hand over immediately once his opponent said good call, is actually the nice thing to do. I'm not going to say kind, but it's the nice thing to do. And I don't know why he did it here. Maybe he always does it. I will say that Garrett is particularly good at getting in high-stakes games, having people want to play with him. Because he probably does nice things like this, right? I mean, Garrett's always been super nice to me, and I don't even know the guy, really. I've lost money gambling to Garrett, and I didn't mind it. There's a lot to that. And I don't know anything about Dylan. Maybe he's good at poker, maybe he's bad at poker, but if he's bad at poker, you definitely want to be nice to the guy, because you really, really, really want him in the game. Because that's where you're going to make your money, right? It's important to realize there's this equation that happens in poker where the good players trade their time for money. Good players trade time for money. Bad players trade money for a good experience. Now, good varies from person to person. But who must now provide the good experience? Well, the other players at the table must provide the good experience. The other bad players, though, are not necessarily part of that equation. They're kind of part of the equation, but not really part of the equation. And that means the good players have to provide a good experience to the bad players, assuming you're trying to make money long term. Okay? So, as we see here, Garrett's clearly a good player. I'm very confident he's a winner in these games. In all games, probably. And it's his job / responsibility, and this may be a little bit, responsibility may be a bit too much of a statement. I feel like, though, it's the good player's responsibility to ensure the losing players are having a good time. And again, sometimes, like, I realize some people don't necessarily do this, but I do think it's part of the job to make sure the good players the bad players have a good time. That way they will keep coming back and playing again. Because imagine you just sit there and you curse at them the entire time, and you throw your drink on them the entire time. They're not going to come back, right? And then you don't have a game anymore. Obviously, there are various levels of show them a good time. You can sit there and just do nothing. You can be a little bit nice and talkative. You can, show the winning hand first when you think you win. You can get slow rolled and react as they would like you to react. For all I know, maybe the right play here for Garrett is to put on a little bit of a show. Oh, you got me. Because, act like you got riled up. Because Dylan wants to rile up Garrett. So maybe the right play for Garrett, even though he doesn't care, is that maybe you're supposed to act a little bit riled up. Think about that one. I know whenever I lose a big pot and I'm still in the game, sometimes I'll act like a little bit tilty. Just a little bit. Maybe I'll look at the cards a little bit hard or slam the chips around just a little bit. Try to look annoyed, right? Because you want your opponents to think they're supposed to feel annoyed when they lose big pots. You want them to think you don't know what you're doing. You want them to think that you're feeble-minded. Obviously, we put out the show. Probably doesn't help me. But I don't care if I win or lose a hand at all. I don't care if you slow roll me at all. Right? And I'm sure Garrett doesn't either. So, should you act as if you're annoyed? I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to a little bit. Just a little bit. So, should you ever slow roll anybody? Only if you want to shut down interactions in life, I think. How should you feel when it happens? You should not care. Your opponents did not break the rules. It just is what it is. Such as life. Sometimes you lose the hand, right? Is it acceptable to slow roll someone? Sure. I have no problem with people who slow roll people. One of my poker coaching coaches, Jonathan Jaffe, talks about slow rolling people. Why? Because it gets people tilted, and when people get tilted, they play poorly. But, at the same time, if someone tries to slow roll me, it tells me a lot about either how they view me or perhaps how they view the game, right? It's funny that this etiquette doesn't apply online. It actually does apply online. Think about it on the river. Your opponent bets the river, you have the nuts, you take your 30 seconds, you time bank another minute, and then you call. Right? I will say that the people who often do the slow rolls are usually the kind of people who try to get into like leveling wars and try to make the game like a macho type thing. They're going to try to show you who's boss. And to be fair, I like Jonathan Jaffe a lot, but he gets in there and he battles really hard. Way harder than me. And somebody says they'd love a Sean Deeb slow roll. Yeah, Sean Deeb gets in there and he fights, right? He fights. I don't really view poker as a fight, though. I view poker more as I'm going to implement my strategy, and you're going to implement your strategy, and one of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose, and there's going to be a whole lot of variance thrown in. And that's it. I don't view this as I'm going to try to show you who's boss, or I'm going to try to push you around. I realize a lot of people do think about poker like that, but I don't, and most of the people I talk poker with don't. They're just trying to make the best decision at this exact point in time. Is this like taunting in football where you get a flag? Funny enough, there's a new NFT that came out, or it came out a while back, and essentially it is a football league, kind of like arena football. You know what arena football is? They play on like a 50-yard field, but the players who own the NFTs get to vote on the plays that the players make. So it's almost like you're playing Madden, and you get to pick the plays that the players make every single play. And it's like real world football. They play in a studio in Atlanta. It's going to be on Twitch and Peacock and a few other channels. And they have like awards, and they give bonuses to the players for things like best touchdown celebration and best interview. And they kind of reward taunting. They're almost trying to make it like WWE wrestling, professional wrestling, right? And is that fine? Is that good? I don't know. I personally don't like that kind of thing. But I realize a lot of people do. And to some extent, if you're making a show, you have to appeal to the masses. And I realize this YouTube channel does not appeal to the masses because I'm not out there talking crap about very many poker players or companies in the poker space. I'm not out here berating players, right? I realize some people like that. Trying to think if I should say anything about all those players. No, we won't. You all know how I feel about all that. But like you have to appeal to the masses to some extent if you're making a show. And a lot of people like that kind of thing. They think poker is the macho game, and they want to show people who's boss, and they want to punish people, and they want to feel the swings. They want to feel the wins and feel the losses and all of that. Michelle says here, this is exactly why the Hustler stream gets that many views. Yeah. So should you get a flag for taunting, for slow rolling people? No, you get penalties for breaking the rules. I guess the rules of NFL state that you can't do that. I don't know. I haven't read the NFL rule book. As far as I know, in the poker rule book, you're just, I don't know. There are various poker rule books. There's a few tournament director associations and World Poker Association, et cetera, et cetera. They all have rule books. Read them. See what they say. I don't think any of them say you can't slow roll. I'm sure some of them do say you cannot slow down the game unnecessarily. But right here, did Dylan slow down the game unnecessarily? Not really. Not really. He took like, what, 2 seconds? 5 seconds? He could have said, oh, nice hand, you got me. Wrapped the table, started to count out his chips, starts to push in his direction, then he looks back at his cards. Oh, wait, I got pocket fours. He could have done it way more. I realize this is for a lot of money. To be fair, though, it's one buy-in, right? I mean, whenever you're playing any cash game, it's always just one buy-in. So it's not like it's even for all that much, quote-unquote, money. I realize it's a lot of actual dollars, but it's not all that many big blinds / buy-ins, whatever. We're playing, how many people were we playing in this game? We were playing, 180 big blinds deep? You get stacked for 180 big blinds, who cares, right? Happens all the time. So, that's that. Slow rolling is fun with friends. Yeah, slow rolling is fun with friends. I don't think these two guys are friends. Maybe they are, I don't even know. But slow rolling is fun with friends, and I would recommend you do it. Get in there, get the experience, understand it. It took you a long time to come around to my forthright personality. Well, you either love it or you hate it, apparently. I never really thought that people would not like me for my personality. I think it's like kind of straightforward and nonsensical, but I guess some people don't like that. But anyway, you can't stress enough how good of a teacher I am. I mean, I try to give people the information they need to succeed. I've been told that one of my greatest skills is finding the thing that matters and doing it or pointing it out or whatever, right? And maybe that is a skill that I naturally have. Because, like in poker, for example, there's all sorts of stuff that matters and a lot of stuff that does not matter. And if you can get rid of all the stuff that matters, get rid of all the stuff that doesn't matter and only focus on the few points that do matter, it's going to be very, very beneficial. I mean, if you go back and watch some of my YouTube videos where we go through like the bluffing decision flowchart, and there's like 7 or 8 items there, usually 1 or 2 of them are the overriding factor, to where you can like have a negative answer for a lot of them, but a positive answer for 2 or 3 of them, but those 2 or 3 may override all the other negatives. So sometimes things matter, sometimes they don't, and you have to be able to figure that out. In the NFL rulebook, it states that a flag will be thrown for taunting when there is the use of baiting or taunting, acts or words that engender ill will between teams. Sure. Whatever that means. Poker needs villains. Does it? And then, what is a villain? How villainous should they be? That's the real question. What is a villain in poker? Because a villain in poker can just be somebody who looks at you meanly and doesn't say anything, or the villain can be the circus clown that turns the table over when they lose. You know what I mean? Like, what is the villain? And I don't know. I was the first YouTuber on poker you subscribed to. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. You enjoy the circus at the Hustler. Yeah, I mean, exactly it. Some people say poker's a gentleman's game. I mean, that's the thing, is like, what is poker? I don't know. Poker's whatever you make of it. That's the neat thing about most things, are that they are how you view them. And some people view this slow roll by Dylan as like the most malicious, horrible thing in the world. And other people view it as nothing. Interesting concept, right? That you got to realize that you got to put yourself in other people's heads. Some people look at this and think it's awful. Some people look at it and think nothing of it. Where I grew up, drinking alcohol was viewed as really bad. But a lot of people drink alcohol every day and don't think anything about it. Where I grew up, gambling was viewed as really bad. I gamble basically every day, and I don't think anything of it, right? And it's all about perception. It's all about perception. Did I win the Poker Personality of the Year award this year? No. We tried. We did not succeed. We were in the top 4, though. I've been in the top 4 every single year since they've run the awards, so I guess I could be happy with that. We still have that award from last time, so I appreciate all that, and we will perhaps try again next time. Some people like pink and hate blue, and others like blue and hate pink. Yeah, you gotta realize that perception is a very, very funny thing, and different people can view different things very differently. And sometimes your perception may be like really off. It may be really off. And either you got to find people who have the same perception as you, or realize that your views may need to not necessarily change, but like you have to understand that people view the world and they view things differently, right? And so you have to be willing to listen to other people's opinions and perhaps implement those opinions into your own thought process, right? Some things you do that you may not view as out of line at all, other people may view as very out of line, like slow rolling, right? Imagine you play a home game where people slow roll a lot. That's just part of it, right? Then you go to play another home game, and nobody slow rolls at all. And if you do, you're banned. Well, even though you normally slow roll and you don't care about it at all, you probably shouldn't slow roll in that game if you want to keep playing in that game, right? So realize that quote unquote unspoken rules change, and realize that you can always upgrade yourself. I mean, look, if we look at don't know if you want to go here. Look at like the cancel culture that happens in the world. A lot of the time, the stuff that people did a long time ago was not viewed as bad. I'll give you an example. I was watching Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey with my kids yesterday. That's a movie about two dogs and a cat. They get kind of lost and they have to find their family, etc. Fine. You wouldn't think anything too bad could happen in this movie. But they shamed people for being overweight 5 or 6 times in the movie. And that's, to some people, viewed as very, very out of line today, to shame people for the way their body looks. And should Disney be canceled because they had that movie in the past? And they even made a sequel of it. They were so proud of it, they made another one. Probably not, in my opinion, assuming they right their wrongs. I say you should certainly be able to make fun of people for their physical appearance. Some people do it all the time. Some people never do it, right? You have to make sure that you find... I mean, I don't know. It's a tough thing, right? Because what is okay to say? What is not okay to say? Is it okay for me to say that the guy with the 8-7 offsuit should have folded pre-flop? Is that me shaming him for his pre-flop decision? I mean, I guess maybe a little. Maybe a little. I don't know. I'm not trying to offend the guy. Right? Not trying to. But maybe I did. And if I did, I'm sorry. I'm certainly not trying to. But, I mean, you make a joke about someone's body type, you're presumably trying to make them feel bad or make yourself feel good because of something they did. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a very tough thing. And we're in this weird world where perceptions change a lot and in short periods of time sometimes. And you got to realize most people are just trying to do the best they possibly can and not trying to hurt others. Now, if someone is actively trying to hurt someone, then sure, they should perhaps be in trouble. But if you're like not really trying to hurt anyone, you haven't done anything out of line, well, but that's like what is in line? What is out of line, right? I think some things people view as like clearly wrong, and some things people view as not clearly wrong, but in the future they view them as clearly wrong, and that inevitably gets into a dicey space. But I will generally say that I think we should live in a world of forgiveness and recognizing that most people are just trying to do better. And if someone did something wrong in the past, but they right their ways, maybe okay. Anyway, that's slow rolling. How should you feel when it happens? You shouldn't feel anything. How should you react? Either, just like Garrett did here, or maybe you act a little bit annoyed and make your opponent think that they gotcha. Because then maybe they'll think you're feeble-minded and you'll be able to crush them in the future. Is slow rolling okay? Yeah, I guess so. And should you slow roll people? Probably not. Shaming is a tactic to improve society. Shaming makes people... I mean, look, I get the purpose of everything. Punishments, rewards, etc. Shaming is a form of punishment. The question, though, is should you punish someone for how they look? Why do you care? It's not your problem, right? Should I play at the Hustler? I certainly would if I ever have the opportunity. The problem is I don't make it to LA very often. I live in New York, and that's a long way from LA. Maybe one day, though. Before I wrap it up today, I'm going to tell you about a new project I've been working on. Since we're at the Hustler and they love to gamble, I made an NFT series called The Deck of Degeneracy. Y'all may not know this, but I enjoy a good gamble. A lot. I really, really, really enjoy a good gamble. So we made an NFT series. These are NFT cards. These are, well, I'll explain it very briefly. There are 50 decks of these. One of the decks are a special golden deck. They look like this. They're one of ones. They give 2 times the benefits of a regular card. And essentially, me and Wes Henry, the artist, are going to be rewarding the holders of these in various ways going forward. I can't say too much about it because there are various legal laws I don't want to break. And that's that. That said, if you all know me, you all know Jonathan Little. If you ever met Wes Henry, if you ever knew him, you know that we drastically over-deliver. I do my best to drastically over-deliver. Look at this YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is free. Please print these. They're beautiful. If you buy one of these NFTs and you're in America or Canada, I'm not going to do a mailing overseas, I will mail you a physical deck of cards. I will mail you a physical deck of these cards. For each one you get. If you get 10 of them, I'll send you 10 decks of cards. When will these be coming out? As soon as we have the contract finished, probably in a few days. So, that's that. What is an NFT? It is a piece of digital art, effectively. But don't view these as just art. View these as a membership card. View these as a membership card. And for example, I'll tell you a few things we're going to give away. If you collect a royal flush of any suit, you can use one joker. So, 10 of spades, jack of spades, joker, king of spades, ace of spades is a royal flush. I'm going to throw a party in Las Vegas on June 30th, 2022 at the World Series of Poker. It's going to be probably an all-day thing. I have a few ideas already lined up. And it's going to be a lot of fun. All those people who collect a royal flush will be able to come out. We'll have a party in Vegas. Maybe, we'll figure out a way to give away some of my tournament action. I was thinking about it. There's 50 decks of cards, so 50 copies of each card. And I play a tournament, I keep 100% of myself. Could I give away 50% of myself every tournament? Maybe. We can give away bonus NFT art from Wes Henry. He is one of the biggest selling NFT artists in the world. He makes amazing, fun art. We can make uncut sheets of the entire deck. You can print it out, put it on your wall. Actually, you can't print it out. I'll print it out. I'll mail it to you. And you can put it on your wall. That'll be amazing. And you never know what you're going to get. We also have special cards. We have jokers. And we have the golden decks of cards. The golden decks of cards are going to give you twice as much as the regular cards. There's only one golden deck of cards available. NFTs are going to cost 0.1 ETH each. You need to figure out Ethereum if you're going to do this. Google how to buy an NFT. That'll be that. As you see, the art's fun. Like I said, these will be physical cards. Here's me and Wes. Wes makes amazing art. I enjoy a good gamble. When can you mint these? These will start being available sometime over the course of the next week, most likely. How much are they? 0.1 ETH. And the plan is to give back a lot of the funds we bring in over the course of the next year. We are going to guarantee benefits for a year. If we have a lot of secondary sales, or if these things start to do amazingly well for whatever reason, maybe we keep it going indefinitely. I'm not sure. You're worried about getting rug pulled. Yeah. And I agree, which is why you have to trust the people who are making the project. So the question is do you trust Jonathan Little to deliver? I've only been in the poker training space since about 2005. I haven't rug pulled anyone. I've only added value. So, you can probably trust me to deliver. I've only over-delivered. So, given I've only over-delivered, hopefully that reputation is enough to let you realize I will not rug pull you. Simple as that. I definitely recommend you get in the Discord, by the way. Go to deckofdegeneracy.com. Click this little button right here to get in the Discord. So far, we've given away some action to Justin Saliba, just GTO, my poker coaching coach, content creator extraordinaire. We've given away some pieces of his action. Something we did for fun is we let people vote on Twitter which sport team they liked on a particular day. Let's say the Knicks are playing the Suns. Which one do you like? They vote, and then we'll give away some action if the team that wins. And if the team loses, you get nothing. If you get action of Jonathan Little in a tournament and he wins, you get a bunch of funds. If he loses, you get nothing. Maybe if Jonathan Little wins a tournament over the course of this next year, if you happen to have the cards that he wins with, the 9 of spades and the 3 of diamonds, maybe you'll get something. Maybe. Are there any benefits for international poker coaching members? I think the benefits for all poker coaching members are the same. Have I ever slow rolled anyone? Not as far as I know, unless it was for fun in a fun home game. No, I don't think I've ever slow rolled anyone, though, as far as I can remember. I feel like there was probably some enjoyable, fun, splashing around gambling game where I probably have for fun, but everybody was doing it. So anyway, check it out, deckofdegeneracy.com. Get in the Discord. I definitely recommend getting in the Discord. And for all of you, if you go to Discord and enter your Ethereum address, I will put you on the friend list so that you can mint before everybody else, because I don't want any of you to be shut out. There's a chance these sell out very, very quickly. I hope they don't sell out very quickly. I hope you actually have a little bit of time to get them. But we will give people who get on the friend list a day or two to get them. So anyway, check it out, deckofdegeneracy.com. I realize, hey, going back to people either love it or they hate it. Some people hate the NFTs. I understand. It's okay. Everything is not for everyone. Having big swings is not for everyone. Some of you are going to win some stuff, like pieces of Jonathan's tournament action through this NFT series, and I'm going to lose, and you're going to get nothing. Some of you are going to win pieces of my tournament action, I'm going to win, and you're going to get a bunch. Some of you are going to get the 3 of spades, and the 3 of spades is going to become very important. Maybe. And you'll get a bunch. Some of you may get the 3 of hearts. 3 of hearts may become worth not a lot, and you get nothing. So anyway, it's lots of swings, lots of fun. Check it out. We'll be minting pretty soon. Wait, how do you play again? You just have to own the NFTs. You have to own NFTs. Whenever you buy the NFTs, you will get random ones, etc., etc. Check it out. Go to the website. It lists everything there. That's going to be it for today. If someone slow rolls you, enjoy the experience. Make people like you in general. Where do you get these? You cannot get them currently. They'll be available soon. You have to come to the site, click Connect to MetaMask. There'll be a mint button once it goes live. And that's it. Then it will appear in your wallet, but also on sites like OpenSea, LooksRare, etc. Get in the Discord, though. If you get in the Discord, we will keep you up to date. That's me for today. We're having a poker coaching study session starting very, very soon. Make sure you get in that. Louis Philippe does an amazing job helping all the poker coaching members get in there and crush the games. That's going to be it today. Good luck. Have fun. I appreciate all of you being here, and I hope you have the best week you can possibly have. I'll talk to you all next time. How old are my kids? 3 and 5. They're growing up quickly. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.